My name is Carol Bideau, and I'm the producer of National Lampoon's Counterintelligence. And we have here today Shandu Shah, my co-producer, and James Farwell, the creator and writer of this project. So welcome, gentlemen.
It's nice to be here.
Thank you.
Yes, hi. So Shandu, basically you are a producer and you've done films in India. So tell us how this venture with James came to be.
Well, James Farwell and I have a common background. We work with Department of Defense on national security areas. So we met, and then he found out that I have a background in Bollywood. I've done some work in Bollywood. I have access to the best of best infrastructure in Bollywood. So one of the options at that time was to produce this film in India, make the film in India. So that's how we got started. And then at some point, there was an idea of making a Bollywood-style independent Hollywood film with song and dance. And I think James Farwell has done an amazing job of getting Bollywood-style song and dance into this project.
Let me tell you, this film has it all. So James, tell us a little bit about the process of making this really, we'll say it a lot because it is. It's really a funny script.
Well, I've always loved Bollywood. Bollywood is amazingly creative. It's irreverent. It's cheeky. It's positive. It's rooted in great values. It's mostly about love stories with a dance used to punctuate and amplify in that. The Indian marketplace loves song and dance. Actually, the songs and dancing in a traditional Bollywood movie is much too long. In our film, we hold them to the numbers to 3 to 4 minutes. The music, as you know, is done by the distinguished composer A.R. Rahman, who was a 2-time Academy Award winner, has graciously agreed to license his music to us. And this movie pays homage to the romantic comedies of Bollywood. They are unconventional. They'll break the fourth wall. Anything goes. The humor is in this is different from your what you think of as a National Lampoon movie. National Lampoon movies really are somewhat sophomoric in their humor. This is the opposite. The humor is sophisticated and witty. There's a lot of physical humor, and of course, there's a lot of cinematic humor that uses a visual vocabulary to get across the jokes. And so it appeals to both a sophisticated audience as well as a younger audience. I think younger audiences will love the music and the storyline, and it's just very funny.
Yeah, it's great that James mentioned A.R. Rahman. In fact, I had an opportunity to meet with him after we talked, and I presented our project to him, and he was receptive to the idea, and then we will approach him again when we are ready to make the film for the music for A.R. Rahman. Also, the tradition of music, song and dance in Bollywood is so old. The very first film in Bollywood, the talking film, was called Talking and Singing Film. It had 7 songs, the very first film in 1931. So it's a long tradition, song and dance in Bollywood.
Right.
Yeah, and we had a heyday with the Hollywood musical, which is certainly throughout the world a iconic time in American cinema with all the Sound of Music and all these great musicals.
Right, and the thing about this is that Bollywood has its own idiosyncrasies. For example, the typical Bollywood film is sung in a style that would not be accessible to a Western audience, but these songs lend themselves to being adapted to a Western audience. So Rahman wrote a movie called Bombay Dreams. That was a great hit in London, and you can actually go on YouTube and hear what those songs sound like, sung in a Western style. They're very accessible. Great music, and I've written the script and the lyrics to these songs, and they were fun to do.
That's great. And we also have alluded to a couple of our other partners, Jerry Daigle, who has worked with the National Lampoon brand. And I think that we all really felt that, our film is zany, but you read, and some of you would have seen our podcast for Mona Lisa. James is prolific, and he does varied styles of scripts and stories. And with this, it's very zany, but at the same time, it is very, very smart. It's very cerebral, but very funny and very just outlandish. And I think that people who love the classic National Lampoon would also love this, because it does have sort of these harebrained schemes, and James, like all the rest of your scripts, it's very smart. The dialogue is very smart. The storyline is very complicated and yet very accessible to everybody.
Right, and the characters are all very smart. Some National Lampoon movies really have dumb characters doing dumb things. This is just the opposite. All the characters in it are smart. I really characterize this as more of a screwball romantic comedy than zany. Zany to me means one of these goofy movies where everybody's sort of stumbling every 15 minutes. This really isn't like that. The physical humor is very funny, but it's funny within a very sophisticated realm, and it will appeal, I think, to audiences of all ages, which is what's really important. We'll get a very broad following who like this movie.
Right, and I think that when people see this film, there's one section that I thought was very, very, that a lot of the audience would recognize. There's a scene that kind of plays homage to the Ministry of Silly Walks. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that, James?
That is funny.
That is funny. The border between Pakistan and India, two countries that often have a lot of tensions between them, features a changing of the guard ceremony that has become an enormous tourist attraction. And anybody watching this should go on Google or rather to YouTube, and you can look these things up, and you can see what they do. And the guards on both sides wear fancy costumes, and they engage in very funny marching and dance steps as they change the guard. It's enormously amusing and very much in keeping with the spirit of this movie.
Yeah, I was there 2 years ago. It is funny. Not just the ceremony itself, but the audience and the patriotism on both the sides. It is so passionate. It is such an experience. It's a great stuff. So if we can bring some style in it.
Yeah, no, and I think that that's what a lot of audiences, and I'm sure everybody has seen Monty Python. This is very similar to what I think James's writing style in this script is. Monty Python is very silly, but they're so smart. They're so, you can read their humor on so many levels. Obviously on the very basal level, but it's also extremely smart. These are all Oxford and Cambridge men, as you are, James. And so I think that there's something for everybody. And, I think that, with Shandu and his experience in making films, and James, and just the amount of work that you've done to research and make this film, tell us a little bit about a little bit about the main characters that people can look forward to seeing.
Well, it's an ensemble film. You have on the one hand Tamir the Terrible, whose twin brother is the Maharaja, and Tamir is a very smart guy. He's made a lot of money, but the problem is that his twin brother is a superstar. And of course, there's a lot of rivalry there, and Tamir resents that, and he wants to become a big man on campus. So he decides to feign being a terrorist leader, which he clearly isn't. And it's just very funny to see how at really every turn, everything he does, it's a little bit like the Coyote cartoons. And indeed, we have a Coyote cartoon that captures.
Yeah, the sequence there, yeah.
Yeah, it's very funny.
Wile E. Coyote with the Roadrunner.
Yeah, and so it's really that kind of a tone. There are two very strong female leads. One is Tiffany, an American who is taken hostage. And Tiffany becomes involved, and this is sort of a theme of the movie, which is she sees these guys operate the device through which Tamir wants to depose his brothers to get his hands on a nuclear device and blackmailing him into giving up the throne. And from Tiffany's point of view, she watches these guys and she decides that boys with toys are dangerous to the world. So it's incumbent upon the women to save the men and the world from themselves, and how she goes about doing that while falling in love with Zaza, who's Tamir's right hand. The guy is funny. On the other side of the coin, General Kudal, the chief of staff, also wants to take over control of the country while the Maharaja is away. In details, Abu Abu, one of his agents, whom he thinks is good enough to forestall Tamir, but not good enough to get in his way. And Abu Abu links up with Faria, who is a true feminist and is an architect and an artist. And they together sort of balance off each other. It's hard in most films, I think, to have parallel love stories, but we have them here and they do work well.
Yeah, no, I can say that as a woman and working with these four gentlemen, I've really had a rare opportunity to really feel that, you know, it's been very collaborative, and I feel very much that all of our voices are heard, and it's been a sheer joy so far to work with this. And we're just looking for the opportunity to make this and take it to the screen very soon. So anyway, gentlemen, any last thoughts?
Yeah, I'll just add one last comment. Actually, Public Radio had done a recent podcast on how Bollywood can transition over or cross over to Hollywood. And I think this is the right time for international audience to enjoy Hollywood and Bollywood in one movie, which is counterintuitive.
Absolutely. No, I heard that podcast and it was really, really so interesting. So, gentlemen, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to be part of the team. I so appreciate it. And we've got many, many scripts and many stories to tell. And hopefully see National Lampoon's Counterintelligence very soon. Thank you again. And
thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye,
Bye.
Carol. Thank you.